Hey guys, so it's John Yard here. We're out in the woods and we're gonna split some firewood here. And basically what I've done is I've just arranged some different tools to kind of give you an idea of what all the different types of log splitting tools there are out there. And it basically falls into 5 categories, okay? So what I have here on my far side, this is a wedge, so a splitting wedge. Then we have hatchets, axes, mauls, and a log splitter down here on the side. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about each one and kind of give you an idea of what each of these are used for and how they're different. So the first one, the splitting maul, this is probably one of the least frequently used of these tools. But basically, it's kind of like a disembodied axe head, to be honest, and you're using it in combination with a sledgehammer to get into the wood and split it. This is something that you can use, particularly use them in pairs, so you might use multiple wedges at once to split like really large or difficult to break apart pieces of wood without having to go to a log splitter. So that's the wedges, and then here we have a couple hatchets. So you can tell these are very different, these 2 different hatchets. And the one I have in this hand is kind of like a sort of a nice, fancy, glorified pocket knife in a way. You can do some small tasks. You can take this camping, you can take some small branches down, that kind of thing. But this hatchet I have in my other hand, this is going to be the type of thing that you use for doing kindling if you're actually looking to start a fire and get a pile of kindling for your fires going. And then the next level up, we have our axes. So axes are probably the best known type of log splitting tool, and I have basically 2 different types of axe here. I have this one, which is much smaller than the other, and this is kind of some people would call this like a forest axe, and this is really useful for basically going through the woods, and if you have some branches or some limbs that you're cleaning off in order to clear like the base of a big log in firewood, or if you're preparing to chainsaw a tree down, you can do like the lower branches, you can knock them off really easily with something like this. So this is a handy tool. It's a lot lighter weight than bigger axes, so it's easier to use in that respect. It doesn't wear your arms out from using it so much. And then this axe here, this is a Prandy splitting axe. It's a bit larger. The head on this probably weighs around 3 or 4 pounds. And this is a good splitting axe. My sister actually uses this quite a bit when she splits. And this is kind of a nice weight if you are planning to split for a long time and you don't want your arms to get worn out by a larger maul. So that's the splitting axe there. And actually, let me point out as well, this splitting axe is a little bit unique. You might be able to see it has wedges on it. Not every splitting axe will have that, but this type does. So the next group here, we have several different kinds of splitting maul, okay? And some people don't know this, but a splitting maul actually is different than a splitting axe. Those are not interchangeable terms. And I looked on the Husqvarna website actually, and what they use to kind of define the difference between a splitting maul and a splitting axe mostly has to do with the axe head. So for a splitting maul, the axe head usually weighs 6 to 8 pounds, and for a splitting axe, it usually weighs closer to 3 to 6 pounds. So that's kind of the main difference there, but you can also tell if we just take the splitting axe in this hand and we pick up one of these splitting mauls in the other, you can tell that the head on this splitting maul is quite a bit bigger, right? It's quite a bit bigger. And also if you look at the handle on those are actually pretty close to the same. A lot of times mauls, let me get this one, it's a better example. A lot of times on mauls, the handle is going to be a bit bigger as well. So you can see the splitting axe is a little bit shorter than this maul. So that's the main difference between the 2. But within the category of mauls, you actually have some more differences as well. And with any of these tools, there's variations. And so the different ones we have here, the one in the middle I think is about a 6-pound head. And this is a Gransfors Bruck model. They make these with nice hickory handles. And then on this side, this is kind of your hardware store typical splitting maul that you can, anybody that has a splitting maul has probably had or held or used one of these before. And then on the other hand, they make these really big ones that are for if you have like a really hard log that you can't split with anything else. This is about an 8-pound, I think, splitting head. And this thing's really heavy. Like, you're not going to use this splitting firewood all day. it's gonna wear you out. So you can use it for a couple really big logs, but then you probably wanna go to a smaller maul or even a splitting axe. And then on the far side here, we have a gas-powered log splitter. There's a few different types of log splitters. They make electric ones now, and they even make manual ones that you can do with like a hydraulic lever. But really, the gas-powered one is the most often used and probably the most relevant, really. I have never personally seen an electric or a hydraulic-powered log splitter. And for most people, it's probably not worth getting one or buying one. Unless you're doing, like, you have a firewood business, for example, or if you're maybe doing firewood for multiple families, something like that, where you just have to do a ton of firewood and you don't have time to split it all by hand, or you're not physically able to split it all by hand. But yeah, a log splitter is going to split it faster and in a lot of cases, and it's going to save you some arm strength. But yeah, so that's basically the different tools. We're going to kind of cut the video here, and we're going to go to splitting some of these different types so you can see some of them in action as well. So let's get to it.